We have a couple board members we're waiting for.
They're getting dessert. It's pretty good.
Setup.
As usual.
Yeah, I think we waited a little bit longer.
Wait till the setup.
Check
You
his
can take the
pocket.
cookies out of your pocket, Joe.
I'm waiting.
Got a couple of bring some Tupperware with you, Chuck?
What's that?
Freeze it.
I know. You know, these guys are carry on.
Okay, I'd like to call this annual meeting to order. You all please join me in the pledge to our flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please call the roll call.
Joseph Setta.
Here.
George Haynes.
Here.
Alan Hinckley.
Here.
Thomas Hoyt.
Present.
Ines Casanoff. John Kosher.
Here.
Christopher Matthews.
Here.
Arthur Merrill is excused. Tina Molay.
Here.
Richard Parity. Here. Jeff Centerman.
Here.
James Sofranco.
Here.
Thomas Snow.
Here.
Alicia Terry is present. Shiloh Williams.
Here.
Along with the Commissioner. So we've got 14 board members and present and one excused.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here for our annual meeting. I especially enjoy this annual meeting because it gets to highlight all of the successes during the last year. The CWC Board serves as a reminder of the dual purpose and benefits of the Watershed agreements. The robust and dynamic programs administered through CWC exemplify the best practices in watershed management while also enhancing environmentally friendly economic development, keeping our small communities sustainable. In 2024, with the support and commitment from our partners in New York City, we have seen a significant reduction in core land acquisition and a refocused effort on riparian areas that will support water quality, flood resilience, and new and improved recreational opportunities for our future. Although the work is not complete, we are well on our way to realizing a renewed partnership that continues to meet our mutual needs. I'd like to thank Commissioner Agarwala for his continued commitment for seeking new ways to meet these mutual goals. This includes the recent release of a request for information seeking solutions to gaps in broadband and cell service in the watershed areas, as well as the commitment to look at ways to potentially use city-owned lands for renewable energy projects. These are important initiatives for safety in our communities, as well as helping to alleviate the competition for our valuable farmland in our valleys. I'm encouraged and looking forward to seeing success in these areas that promise to support our needs locally and in New York City. I would like to take a moment to thank Dave Warren. Where is he? Dave, thank you for your many years of service and insight to the CWC Board. As so many in this room know, Dave has been a fixture on this board since the beginning. His leadership over the years helped usher in new programs that support the needs of the city and the upstate communities. Although we don't always agree, his perspective and support to our local communities has been very much appreciated. I'd like to wish him luck in his new DEP role as we welcome Shiloh Williams to the CWC Board. None of this success we enjoy can be done without the talented professional CWC staff, each of whom have done their part. And I know I always say this, but it really is the staff that does the work. And the CWC has the most wonderful staff that we enjoy as a team. To date, they have replaced or repaired more than 7,000 septic systems, loaned more than $115 million to local businesses, and invested almost $4.2 million in grants for education. The success of these programs is a testament to the team here at CWC, while also speaking to the needs in our communities to continue this dual mission. As we face regional challenges, like the current housing shortage and the lack of broadband and cell service, it is necessary for us to continue our partnerships, addressing these challenges together. With New York State seeking to reduce carbon emissions and imposing new regulatory standards for construction for homes and businesses, coupled with new environmental regulations, such as the new wetland standards, we will see unprecedented competition for the same lands in our region. Housing needed to support our local communities will need to be built in areas that can provide municipal sewer and water, increasing demand and putting strain on our current infrastructure, while also creating a demand for a finite amount of land and capacity. These same lands are being sought by developers to meet the statewide demand for clean energy, putting a strain on our local agricultural community in the process. Enhanced septic and wastewater treatment programs may help support this demand and can hopefully offset some of the costs associated with meeting our housing goals. We are also hopeful the concept of land swaps with New York City can help offset some of the impacts, allowing us to look at creative solutions to these problems. CWC will remain steadfast in our mission to support the local community while enhancing the water supply for New York City. It has been important to seek scientifically sound alternatives to managing the watershed, which has included supporting the city's decision to cease large lot land acquisition for open space in priority areas 3 and 4, while supporting alternatives such as targeted streamside buffer programs to promote both water quality preservation as well as flood mitigation for community sustainability. As we move into 2025, we will continue to support scientifically based solutions, seeking enhancements that will support our most significant programs. The septic program, the wastewater program, and the stormwater programs are all significant contributors to the continued success of the watershed partnerships. Science supports the continuation of these programs as a substantial benefit to the dual mission of the watershed, which is evident by the large number of program participants we serve each and every year. Each year we face new challenges, but we also enjoy new successes as we shift programs to accommodate the needs of our constituents, both upstate and downstate. It is important for our continued success that we continually reevaluate our programs, change them to meet the needs of all, and make sound decisions that meet the goals and mission of all of our partners. Our board is successful because our local commitment to excellence and our ability to address needs as they arise. With the recent commitment from New York City to reduce large-scale land acquisition and a commitment to explore using city-owned lands for infrastructure improvements like broadband, cell service, and energy development, we are truly embarking on a new era of watershed management. I'm looking forward to 2025 and the new challenges we will inevitably face, as well as the continued success of our programs and the development of potentially new programs that will support our long-term goals and objectives. I've seen a lot of old faces here, as well as a few new ones. So I thank you all for being here, and I would like to invite Commissioner Agarwala to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. It's a pleasure to be back here in Arkville and at CWC's annual meeting. I think this is my third. And I will say, even though it is a bit of a drive from New York City, I really do appreciate how this building in itself demonstrates in physical form the partnership and frankly the inseparability that we have at DEP with the work that goes on with you all in the watershed communities. And I want to thank Tina, if I may, but the chair, for her kind words, because it certainly has been a real priority of ours at DEP over the last several years to be, as I like to say, an esteemed presence. I imagine that going back a decade or two or three, it might have been tolerated or resented, but I think really our ambition needs to be that that the work that DEP does in the watershed, the work that we do with you and sometimes around you, is one that the residents of the watershed see real value in the same way that you might see real value in your largest employers, because we are among your largest employers, and your largest landholders, because we are, along with the state, the largest landholder and the largest taxpayer, as we do like to point out in most of the communities that you all represent. And I think that's a wonderful contribution, and we want to make sure that that is the side of our presence here that is most felt. And I'm really pleased, as the chair said, at the work we've done over the last year specifically. I'd argue we've had a really good year in terms of DEP being an esteemed presence in the watershed. It's not actually a year ago that we announced the revisions to the IRP from the Ashokan Reservoir that removed one of the key areas of resentment to DEP in Ulster County. And that was the result of a lot of creative and thoughtful work that Paul Rush and Dave Warren and Shiloh undertook that allowed us to look differently at an old problem and realize that not only had our needs changed, but our infrastructure had changed, and we had not looked at an old problem in that new light. And that new light allowed us to unlock solutions that had not been available to us before. We face a very serious budgetary situation in New York City, which is why it was frankly a little bit painful and not the way I would have liked to do it. But I was very pleased in the end that we were able to protect progress on the Ashokan treatment plant, a commitment that is in the FAD and one that I take very seriously, because I think it's absolutely critical for DEP to meet its obligations that we owe and follow through on the commitments that we've made. And we were forced to make some difficult and painful reprioritizations in order to make sure that that project stayed on track. But I think it was worthwhile because I want to make sure that DEP is always taken to be good for its word. And I think that's very important. We also, I was very pleased, the time melds together, but I think it was only 2 months ago that we were able to announce the 10-year agreement, the first time we've ever done a 10-year agreement with your fellow organization, the Watershed Agricultural Council. Another demonstration of how New York City is here for the long term and sees the real value for our projects. That was a $228 million commitment that we have made to the farmers of the watershed, one that will pay off to New York City in terms of water quality, but one that I believe also pays off very significantly to the economic vitality of this region. As the chair mentioned, I'm really excited about two initiatives that we started over the last year. One around solar development, and I hope to have more to say about that over the coming months. And another on a completely creative, which is code for saying we don't know how this is going to play out, but nonetheless, a novel approach to thinking about how we can solve one of our problems, which is that our staff in the watershed can't talk to each other, and use a solution to that problem to solve a problem for your communities, which is that you all can't talk to each other. And I know full well that my staff has to block off that last 40 minutes of the drive where I can't be on the phone. So it is something that we know down at Lefrak City very well. But I think that cell phone initiative is a great example of the way we have to do things going forward. We're not doing this as charity. We're not doing this because we were imposed upon. But what we did, and I'm really pleased with, is we saw our own need, and we saw how with a very small amount of incremental effort and imagination, it could not only solve another need, but it could contribute to our being that esteemed presence in your communities. And I think that's a great example of the kind of thing. I hope this one pans out. I'm optimistic, but it is by no means guaranteed. But even if this particular one doesn't, there are others, and I think the solar initiative is a similar one where we can be creative about thinking about our functions here, ensuring that in no case are we diminishing our impact on our water quality. In all cases, we are being dedicated stewards of the city's funds, but always looking for creative ways that we can contribute to your communities. I know right now, and the chair also mentioned, that we are engaged in what, frankly, to my mind, seems to be a really long, drawn-out process around the water withdrawal permit. And I am pleased that we have been very focused on what I believe are the right things for New York City DEP to be focused on. We will at all times follow the science. This is not a stakeholder negotiation as much as it starts out for us as a question of what are the practices that will protect the water quality and will elongate the lifespan of the filtration avoidance determination. Once we are following the science, we have to focus on what is cost effective because the ratepayers of New York require us to be. You may know we raised our water rates in New York City last year by 8.5%. That is a significant hike. Don't yet know what our proposal to the Water Board will be in roughly 6 weeks, but I expect it will be in that same ballpark. Our disclosure to our bondholders predicted another 8.5% this year. That adds up, and that will create resentment and pressure for us to do less at a time when, whether it's because of our infrastructure, our ambitions for the FAD, the needs imposed on us by climate change, we have more and more to do, and we are going to have to be very cautious stewards. And then, of course, if we are following the science and we are being good stewards of our funds, then, of course, by all means, we want to be as good a partner and as esteemed a presence as possible. But we are obligated to think about it in that order of prioritization, and that is something that I think we have held to. And sometimes, I'm very pleased, we made a science-based decision around land acquisition. It was done because it was the right thing for the water quality. It was done because it was the right thing for the cost effectiveness. It happened, I think, very happily to coincide with some things that at least some of the constituents here in the watershed wanted. But we will continue to think about this from that perspective, and I am equally enthusiastic about the prospect of thinking about land swaps, because as we look forward, one of the things, whether it's part of the withdrawal permit or more broadly, that I know we have to do is think differently about the land that we already own, and think about how do we make sure that that land adds the most possible value to the water quality and, again, to the cost effectiveness, and then to the contribution that that land can make. And I continue to be absolutely pleased and excited at how well recognized DEP's contribution of making our lands accessible for recreational use is, both to the residents and to the economy of the watershed, because I think that's an important component. And again, conforming with something that we're doing not because of an economic need, but because of a scientific need, but then figuring out how a little bit more effort can make it much more valuable to a broader set of people. And that brings me to where I want to close, which is the reality that, and Paul and Shiloh and Dave know this, that they come to me and want to talk to me about the water withdrawal permit, and I say, I really don't want to talk about the water withdrawal permit. I want to talk about the future of the FAD. And the thing I hope you all will be thinking about is that I believe it should be a shared ambition of all of us to prolong the life of the filtration avoidance determination as long as absolutely possible. From New York City's point of view, of course, doing so would avoid or at least postpone a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure investment, one that would be environmentally problematic because of the investment of material it would require, but also the ongoing energy that it would use and the space that we have a sense of where it might go, but we're not sure that's the optimal place. But I also think it is a real question for you all here in the watershed, because if, and as I believe when, the fad changes, and should, as I hope does not happen in our lifetimes, the fad go away, that will have significant implications for DEP's role in your communities. The fad is under real threat. And the real threat is not that it is unworkable. The real threat is whether we collectively are nimble enough to recognize how much it will need to change in order to stay the same. The threats that imperiled New York City's water supply in the 1990s are not the threats that we face going forward. The threat of contamination with human waste or with agricultural runoff, because of the great programs that we have already done together over the last 30 years, many of them delivered directly by CWC, those are in reasonably good shape. So the threats have changed. There are three threats. One is climate change, and particularly the presence or the increased frequency of much more violent storms that put runoff into the reservoirs. The second is changing water quality standards, which means that a traditional approach to addressing some of those challenges, which is really adding more and more chlorine, is no longer a viable option for us over the long term. The third, perhaps counterintuitively, particularly for some of our colleagues in the environmental field, is the explosion and resurgence of wildlife, particularly in the east of Hudson watershed, more than in the west of Hudson watershed, is its own threat. And what we have found in the aftermath of some of the major storms we've had over recent years is that the contamination that we see in the water is not coming from humans. It is not coming from cows. It is coming from wildlife. And all the land acquisition and preservation in the world isn't going to prevent the deer, isn't going to prevent the geese. And those are the different kinds of challenges we face. Even the geography of the threats to the fad changes. Because while traditionally we have focused west of Hudson at the Catskill in Delaware, the reality is that with the creation of the Catslill UV plant, which addresses many of the most potentially harmful organisms that could be in the water, and with the interconnection at Shaft 4, which now allows us complete flexibility in which reservoirs we divert water from on any given day. The biggest challenges we face are actually in the east of Hudson, particularly around the Kensico Reservoir. A new fad, in order to be successful over the long term, is going to have to take those changing realities into account. If we re-up and just do the same thing that we've been doing, or make minor tweaks to what we've been doing, we will almost certainly fly this plane into a mountainside, right? We will almost certainly guarantee that New York City will lose the fad and we will move to filtration. And so we are going to need to think very, very differently going forward. That is something that we are already beginning to do. In fact, we've begun nearly a year ago at DEP, beginning the process of wrapping our own minds around this new reality, which is really quite challenging. And over the rest of this year, and between now, of course, and late 2026, when most of this work has to be done, we're going to be reaching out and working with others, first in the scientific community, because that is where we have to start. We must base everything on the science, but also then, of course, thinking more broadly about the communities that are involved, both those who live in the watershed those who live in the city and consume the water beyond the city, which is, as you all know, not just New York City residents, and those in other stakeholder communities like the environmental community. This is something that should be really exciting, because if we take this in the right spirit, it is an opportunity to take this magnificent piece of innovation from the 1990s and update it in a way that it can last for another several generations, I hope. But as I say, if we think too narrowly, we will actually doom ourselves to failure. And along those lines, I will say it is one of the things that does worry me about whether I'm doing my job right or not, that we are still unable to say, yes, if we lost the FAD tomorrow, here's how we'd get the filtration plant done, right? And I think one of the things that we need to do at DEP is do a better job of being ready for that eventuality, which does not at all mean we want it to happen. But you do have to work for the best and plan for the worst. And that is something that we're going to be having to undertake. But as I started out, I think there is tremendous opportunity for us, as this building exemplifies, for us to be interlinked and to benefit from each other's presence and participation over the very long term. That's something that I want to do in that spirit of being a good partner, of fulfilling our responsibility to the people of New York City and the people who pay our water rates, but also in the spirit of being that esteemed presence and that esteemed partner that we very much want and need to be. I've been very grateful for the partnership of the chair, the board, Jason and his team at CWC over the last 3+ years that I've been commissioner. And I look forward to this really exciting, although demanding portion of our work together to keep the FAD going for the next generation of New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. That was great. That was a lot of information, but I think it's really important for everybody in the room to understand this evolutionary process. And I do think you have exemplified the partnership that you're trying to portray up in the watershed, and we really appreciate that. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the CWC's annual meeting. It's my honor to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed elected officials, partner organizations, and government representatives who are here joining us today. Your presence is a testament to the importance of our mission and the collaborative spirit that drives our efforts. As we gather here, I reflect on the pride we take in our programs and the profound impacts they have on our community. For nearly 3 decades, CWC has been dedicated to preserving and enhancing the natural resources of our region, ensuring clean water, and fostering sustainable development. Our initiatives are not just about environmental stewardship, but they are about improving the lives of the people who call this area home. Through our various programs, we have been able to provide essential environmental compliance assistance, support for local businesses, and promote economic growth. Our commitment to helping people is unwavering, and we are proud of the strides that we have made in creating a healthier and more vibrant community. Whether it's through our water quality projects, educational outreach, or community grants, we are making a tangible difference both inside the watershed and for millions of city residents. Today, we celebrate our achievements and look toward the future. We are reminded that none of this would be possible without the support and collaboration of our public and private sector partners. Your dedication, hard work, support, and belief in our mission inspire us to continue striving to be excellent. Thank you all for being here today and your ongoing support. Together, we will continue to build a brighter future for the watershed and its residents. I hope you enjoy our presentation of our 2024 accomplishments. And now I'm going to hand it off to our hardworking staff who will present their each specific program. Each staff member will go through details of their 2024 accomplishments. And I'd ask that you please hold your questions if you have any specific program questions until each staff member reaches the end of their specific section. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. I'm I'm going to hand it off to John Matheson, our first presenter.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, board. We're going to get into a part of the program here where everybody gets to see some pictures and whatnot, so it's not as much talking, but at least you get to see some of what we do. I'll click on the first one. Starting off with community wastewater program that we have. I'm the program manager, environmental engineering specialist for the community wastewater program. We wind it down with the last two that we have for the, I think it was a 23 total. Hawkinsville, we were just finishing up this past year. We decommissioned 49 septic systems. And what they did was remove the tank completely off the residence property. And at that point, they put a lateral line in that connects right from the house, which you can see in the far left picture. What they do is they don't go inside the house. The contractor just connects to the line coming out where it went to the tank. The tank is removed, and they put in this new lateral line, and it goes into the force main. The force main runs from Hawkinsville all the way back to in front of the Catslill Rec Center, where it ties into the New York City wastewater treatment plant line that they have there at the manhole. It was a difficult project. Like I say, it was 4+ miles that we had to do all the way back from Hawkinsville back to here. There was a lot of directional drilling that went on, and we had to do some open cuts here and there because as we hit down around the Hannah Golf Course area, we hit a lot of rock, and the drill, we broke several drill bits as they were going through there. So, but this line here shows that at least it's one of the residents that got hooked up in Hawkinsville. This is another difficult portion of the project in Hawkinsville. As you can see up on the top left corner, the house is highly elevated, way above all the other houses in the community. And so it'd be, good gravity flow for the line. However, what we got was we had this 12-foot stone wall that the owner did not want us to disturb at all. So what they do is what they call mold drill, which you can see in the middle of the picture. There's a little drill coming through underneath the wall, and it drilled the line down through so this way you can get their lateral line from the house down to the force main and connect in at that point. So that was a couple-day project just doing that. Moving on to New Kingston. This is one of the last ones we did. This is the last one we really did. We decommissioned 28 septic tanks in the hamlet of New Kingston. What they did was they pumped them all out, and then they destroyed them. And at that point, they installed a new 1,250-gallon tank at every property. And so that tank will hold all the solids that come in and out of the house. And at that point, all the effluent will go into a lateral line that goes into the force main from New Kingston over to the remote leach field and control area. This is the building at the control area, the control building. Top left corner is the generator. So this way, if there's ever a power outage, that whole project will run no matter what. So there's no worries there. On the right top corner is the control panel itself that controls the leach fields. So this way it switches the leach fields off and on during the duration of the project. So this way they're not all running at once. Like 3 or 4 will get the rest at a time, and another 3 or 4 will run at the same time. All these tanks will be pumped on a 3-year cycle. So this way we keep on track of it, and there's not going to be pumps. Any tanks that are overflowing or anything that's going to fail. So this way they'll have an inspection and pump out at the same time. So this is also in New Kingston. FP Kane was the contractor on that job. And on the left corner, you can see they're installing a septic tank as well as hooking the lateral line in. And like I said, it holds all the solids and all the effluent goes on the remote leach field. Far right side is a pump station that's in the hamlet of New Kingston. It has a generator there, as well as the control panel that runs pretty much the whole hamlet. And then there's access panels that you can see on the ground that they can get down into if they have to get to the line and clean it out or sweep it, because there are jetters for these projects, and these jetters will be able to clean a large amount of the line when needed. So this is also in New Kingston. We ran into a problem during the middle of the project. There's a stream that runs on the back side of the property, and during a heavy rain event, it decided to break through the actual stream bank and came into the field, kind of where the leach fields were put in. We have a $5 million project there. So in discussions with the DEP, we felt it was important that we take and do something about this stream. So just leave it there because you can see where the silt fence is. You're pretty close to the leach field now. And last thing we want to do is have any problems. So we were able to get money together. So we went and put a project together, and we had Baker Brothers from down in the Kingston area come in. And the large tubes on the left are all tubes that were used to divert the water of the stream while they could do the project. And on the left lower corner, you can see where they're actually getting the project back to where it's supposed to be in the stream, original stream channel. They rip-wrap the bank, stabilize it with large rock. And on the far right, Baker Brothers is actually working on cutting a whole new stream back into the original stream channel. So this way it gets away from the field. And as we're getting into the finished stages of the project, you can see where they rip-wrap the whole bank. There's a far left picture on that corner right there is where it broke. And right out, straight out through the field towards where all the equipment is. And it encroached on that leach field. And again, that's the same thing right there on the far top right, where they just rip-wrap the whole bank. They created floodplain all the way down through from where it comes out of the woods there, all the way down to where you can see the equipment. So this way, when we do get a heavy rain event, we can actually get water dispersed equally. So this way, it's not going to cause a problem. We did have our heavy rain event after the project was just completed on August 9th of last year. And at that point, it held, it did very well. And the whole project had just been finished and it held up very well. And it had water across that whole flat. Okay, moving into the flood mitigation program, I also manage this one. This is a project down in Walton, PMH Properties. It's a building right on Delaware Street in the village of Walton. An older building next to Wayne Bank. It has a new owner, and he applied to CWC for a grant of around $800,000. He completed a complete flood project, which I'll go into a little bit more in depth of what we have on the screen. Inside the building, what they did was they cut the whole floor system out of the building, and they filled the whole basement in with 1,250 cubic yards of flowable fill. And at that point, when they had the flowable fill in place, then they poured another 4 feet of concrete on top of that to stabilize where it goes up against the walls. And then on top of that, they poured 4-foot walls all the way around the inside of the building with rubber membrane. So this way, basically create an interior bathtub. So this way, no water can get inside that building. And on the outside, that's where we'll get to that, is on the far left corner on top, we had to put in a means of egress on the outside of the building because the way the building was conformed with new construction, the second means of egress from the second and third floors of the building was not usable. So therefore, we put an exterior means of egress on the building so those people can get out in case of an emergency. On the far right up corner, you can see where the windows used to be. Let's see, that works right there. Very low to the ground, so therefore, to beat the elevations of the base flood elevations for the floods, we had to move them way up. So all the windows are now up on top. So this way, they're well above the base flood elevation, which is a requirement of 2 feet above the base flood elevation. On the same one, you can see a channel right there. That is for the flood logs for the doors. So this way, if there's a call out for a flood event to be coming, there are these little logs they'll put in. They clamp down. Each individual one will clamp down tight, so it becomes impenetrable. You can't not get water in the building with that. It's all clamped together. So the doors are secured, the windows are secured, and then down here in the bottom, all the electrical was moved from there up to there. So this way, all the electrical now is above the base flood elevation. So this way, it shouldn't be never a problem. So this is a project up in Prattsville that we had. Looks like quite a house. He applied to us for a grant of over $330,000, which was 75% of the funding that we provide for any project of this nature. The homeowner comes up with 25% of the money for that project to be complete. We had to have this house lifted to be 2 feet above base flood elevation. And in the coming pictures, you'll see that it's up in the air. So this is on the far left corner is the foundation complete. And you can see the flood vents next to the door. The basement is completely vented all the way through and around. So therefore, we get any flood waters inside the basement will relieve itself and relieve the pressure from the foundation. The lower corner on the left is the company that did the work. They were excellent at what they did. And as you'll see, there was no hand jacks used by any means. It was all hydraulics. This, oops, back here a little more. This machine right here, they ran all the hydraulic lines off of it, and they were able to lift the house equally the whole way through the process. It was quite unique to watch the whole process happen. And you can see all the cribbing going in places. They're lifting it with steel beams. And now this is the house up in the air on the left corner. 11 feet up in the air it is right now. You can see in the very front right there, that was the old foundation. They moved the whole house back about 20 feet. And now they're putting on a new foundation there, all new floor system being built on it. And now they're starting to do the exterior work on the building as well here on the right and getting it closer to being near finalization. So here we have the first picture of of the house as it was and now as it is. Big difference. Really came out pretty nice. So it's a good project. Kind of proud of the fact that, you know, we had money put towards it and get a project that the house is going to be flood resilient going forward. This is up in Tannersville. Far left corner picture was the start of the project. The stream going down through by Railroad Avenue was really cutting into, up there is the road. And you can see the bank cutting in and actually starting to undermine the edge of the road. So Tannersville came to us. We got a project there for 1.3 million, I think it was. And as you can see, we stabilized that whole bank now. It's all a lot of rock armoring in it, covered up by good topsoil. And at the base of it, right there, is all large rock to prevent any erosion. And then the actual stream channel right there that has been redone and formed to take the flow. And on the left corner, we have a new created floodplain all the way down through there so it can take the water. And same thing there after the storm events that we had, it held up very well. And these are what I was pointing out before right here. These are those rocks right there. And the runoff coming down through is all stabilized with good rock riprap coming through into the stream. A lot of plantings were done all the way through on the left side of the project where the floodplain is. So this way it all stabilizes and it creates a good looking project at the end. Next project, Andy Central School, is a $1.5 million project. We can say thank Delaware County Soil and Water as partners on this project. They did a lot of the construction oversight. I was on site as well, but Delaware County Soil and Water did a lot of the floodplain work on there as well as the stream work itself. CWC provided funding for these walls that you see all the way up and down. The original walls were all laid stone and they were failing and they're falling into the stream. So we had to do something there as far as that to stabilize and help Andes after they got their LFA. This was one of the primary projects in their LFA. And as you can see, they planted rolled grass all the way down through here. Same thing, the August 9th event, we had a lot of water going through there and it held up very well. They installed fencing on top of the walls, all the newly installed wall. This is a brand new bridge that they put in for access to the back of the school. And then beyond it, I'm not sure. No, beyond that, we have a huge floodplain that was created. They had to take out one of the tennis courts. They didn't really like that idea, but it had to happen to make the whole project work. So they still have one tennis court there to use, and they have a great floodplain down through there now to hold all the water that comes through that community, because you have two streams coming into one right there. So now on this slide, we're up at Greene County in town of Hawkett. They had a problem with a culvert in County 1, and they secured $1.57 million from CWC for this project. Greene County also put together another $300,000 as a cost share for the project, and it's coming near finalization now. It's getting close. The culvert was there during a flood event, would only pass the 10-year flood event. It would overtop. So anybody in the upper end of this area here would have to take like a 15 to 20-minute drive all the way around through Hawkett to get out. This is the only way out for them, really. So now they put together a whole bridge project here that will now pass the 100-year flood event. And therefore now it should be in good shape. The stream channel was redone to kind of configure to the new bridge. And it's all a good project. It's working out very good. Like I said, it's coming near the end. Another part of our project I do for floodplain flood hazard program is the flood buyout program. New York City comes in, buys out places that are within the floodplain that has had substantial damages in the past. And once that buyout has been completed, the project comes to me at CWC, and we go ahead and start the demo process and get these places removed and the property cleaned up, and they would stay forever vacant at that point. This was down Mount Jumper. This one's interesting. This is not a flood hazard one as far as flooding or substantial damages. This is erosion at its worst. This is up in Hunter, and this project, this house right there, is coming down in the coming weeks. It hasn't been done yet, but it's getting close. I was talking to the contractor this morning. He thinks probably within the next 2 weeks he's going to be on site taking it down. Now, the story behind this bank, the stream changed course. And what happened was changed course, it just started taking this whole bank out. When I was first notified about this about 2 years ago from the homeowners, this area right here was about 87 feet from the bank where it was eroding. Today, it's about a foot. That's how much bank is gone. You can see the white lines right there coming out of the bank. That's the leach field, what's left of it. It's gone. It's all down the stream. And now that it's come close to the house, there's a septic tank right there, and that's fully exposed now. So we're really, the city got to thank them for actually taking the initiative, pushing this project forward. Usually takes about 2+ years to get a buyout and demo done, and this one's been pushed along rather quickly. Let's see. This is another picture of this. Now you can see where the bank is, about 1.5 feet right there from the post of the house. The leach field line sticking out of the bank. It's a vertical drop, dropping straight off. Now it's started cutting a little bit more of a slope now, but right then it was almost a vertical drop. Next one we have is tank anchoring that I do for our program. Get through that pretty quick. Down in Boyceville, we did 5 1,000-gallon propane tanks, and then we did another. Actually, that's a typo there. Should I cut that a little bit? There's really 5 420 propane tanks, and then we had 4 330-gallon oil tanks anchored. And you can see the oil tank right there. There's outside the Boyceville market, and then the propane tanks behind the market. And then Margaretville Telephone Company, we also anchored a 1,000-gallon propane tank down there. And then last but not least, the building projects. I'm going to throw out a thank you to Alan Roser for the opportunity for me to be involved as much as I was for this building right here. I was the project manager for him to do this whole project here, and it turned out pretty darn good. So we got a couple more projects we're working on now. I think I went too far. No, okay. The generator is a slab that's being done on this side of the building on the back side of our parking lot right now. That's how thick the generator slab is. And we're going to take the generator from where it is now behind the building, move it over onto the slab, and then we will have that sitting off away from the building. So when it's running, nobody has to really hear it that much. It's going to be getting done fairly soon. I just got an email just a few minutes ago before I came downstairs. The contractor will be back on site tomorrow. So the slab has been poured. They're getting ready to do the boring. They have to bore underneath the back parking lot all the way down through to get to where the existing generators to run the electric lines back to this one. And then we have our garage project next door. Same thing there. We had a garage down below. We need to update and get a little bit more equipment for the DEP into this building, so therefore we built a new garage for that. We got the stormwater detention area right here. It's coming out very good. We got to make sure all the plantings come back to life here in the spring now. Got the inside of the building getting near ending right now. It's close. And then you got the outside of the building showing the stormwater detention area, as well as the building with siding and roofing on it. And then back to the start where they started doing the footings. You can see how much reinforcement they had to put into it and pouring the concrete. And that should be about it right there for the programs I run here at CWC. I'm going to hand it off next to Rachel Berger. She's in charge of our stormwater management program. And thank you very much. Any questions from anybody? Okay, way back there in the corner.
I want to thank you for tennis. What a beautiful job.
Okay.
It was a main artery of that road. I had to close it. It was unsafe for traffic. It was reducing one-lane traffic. And formally thank you.
It was a good project. I think it came up pretty good.
Came out beautiful.
Plus, we did the demos down below it too to get rid of some of the buildings that were in the area.
4 buildings out of the floodplain.
Yeah.
And the next one we're in negotiation with the town of Hunter to remove the last DOT building and our DPW building
Yep.
out of the floodplain, combine it with Hunter to much higher ground.
Yep, it's all good down through there now. It's going to be good when it's all said and done. So, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Rachel Berger. I'm the Stormwater Program Manager here at CWC. I realize many of you are probably very familiar with the watershed regulations, but in case you're not, Section 1839 of the watershed regulations references stormwater pollution prevention plans and regulations for controlling runoff from impervious surfaces. DEP requires landowners who disturb land or add new impervious surfaces within certain distances of watercourses or wetlands or over certain acreages to implement stormwater pollution prevention plans, SWIPs, or individual residential stormwater permits, IRSPs. These watershed regulations require strict management of stormwater runoff that go above and beyond what state or federal requirements would have to control stormwater. So CWC's stormwater programs provide reimbursement to property owners for costs associated with designing, constructing, and maintaining eligible stormwater practices in DEP-approved stormwater plans. So we have 3 stormwater programs here at CWC. The Future Stormwater Program, the MOA 145 program, and our retrofit program. The Future Stormwater and MOA 145 program provide reimbursement to property owners who are required to comply with watershed regulations and have to obtain DEP SWIP approvals. The retrofit is a voluntary program and funds stormwater practices that provide water quality benefits by addressing runoff in concentrated areas of existing impervious surfaces. These projects have a joint approval process with DEP for eligibility. The Future Stormwater and MOA 145 programs are relatively administered the same as each other. The main difference is the type of project determines what program the funding will be coming from. The MOA 145 reimburses low-income housing projects, single-family residential projects, and small businesses. The Future Stormwater Program reimburses large businesses, municipal projects, nonprofit projects, multifamily residences, and any other project. All 3 programs also have their own maintenance component as well. So to date, in the Future Stormwater Program, the board has approved over $16.5 million. The MOA 145 program, which we've been administering since 2018, the board has approved around $3.8 million in that program. And our retrofit program to date, the board has approved around $25 million. In 2024, the CWC board approved close to $2.5 million in stormwater funding. 77% of that work was done up in Greene County, so there's a lot of development and subdivisions happening up there. 20% of the work, 20% of the funds were awarded to projects in Delaware County, and the rest was split between Ulster and Schoharie. In the Future Stormwater Program, so that was around $1.4 million. The MOA 145 program, close to $950,000, and $71,000 through our retrofit program. I'm just going to briefly highlight some of the projects from last year and what some of the main stormwater components were. So about $2 million was awarded to local businesses. Bearpen Mountain Sports up in Prattsville designed a new building, and they had to install bioretention basins to treat the stormwater runoff. Wyndham Theater redid their mini golf course holes, and they had to add drainage around all the holes. Catslill Mountain Little League designed and constructed 2 new Little League fields in Stanford, and they had to install large forebays and infiltration basins and swales. Clark Companies built a new facility, or is building a new facility over in Delhi, and they had to install large bioretention basins and detention ponds. And on the right, you can see multiple subdivisions up in Greene County have to implement stormwater controls if they're building a new road throughout the development, and then usually all of the lots as they are sold and building houses also have to implement stormwater controls. About $250,000 went to municipalities and not-for-profits. The Olive Library completed design addressing runoff issues from their parking lot. And this morning they were approved at committee to move forward into the construction phase. The Village of Fleischmann's completed a retrofit project along Lake Street in the fire department a couple years ago. So we got them signed up for O&M to keep the stormwater system functioning properly. The town of Shandaken started design project to improve drainage and water quality around the community center. And all 3 of those were through our retrofit program. The Village of Tannersville is revitalizing the Rip Van Winkle Park and is installing multiple bioretention basins to the site. and about $190,000 was awarded to residential homeowners in the watershed. And these are for people who are building new houses or adding, improvements to the property, a new garage or whatever. They usually have to add in drainage structures along their driveways, or they have to implement rain gardens to treat roof runoff from the new construction that they're doing. That's what I have. Sorry. Any questions? No? All right, I'm going to hand it off to Mitch in the subject program then.
All right, here we go. All right, my name is Mitchell Hall. I'm the septic program manager here. I just want to start off by thanking my staff, John, Kyle, David. I don't know where you guys are in here. Oh, in the back. Okay. And Todd, who recently retired. But these guys make the program run smoothly and efficiently. So I just want to give them a quick thank you for all the work that they do. All right. I'm going to give you guys a quick overview, but while I'll talk, you guys can watch this little video of a septic tank and pump chamber being installed. So the residential program helps fund single family, two family, and mixed commercial homes with design flow of less than 1,000 gallons per day. Full-time residents are eligible for 100% of reasonable cost to replace their failing or likely to fail septic systems, and non-primary residents are eligible for 60%. The expanded septic program helps fund small businesses, not-for-profits, and government entities. And depending on the number of employees, they are either eligible for 100% funding or 75%. And the annual reimbursement program helps homeowners who do not qualify for the program throughout the year. But if there's money left over at the end of the year, they can submit their receipts to potentially be reimbursed. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. It's a 30-second clip, but it's really probably 3 hours of us doing that work to get those two tanks set. This year we replaced 281 septic systems, which is just shy of our goal of 300 for the year. But that puts us over 7,000 septics replaced to date, which is a pretty impressive number. 217 of those septics were replaced through the residential septic program. 2 homeowners were reimbursed through our annual reimbursement program, and 12 of the 217 homeowners we assisted were in proposed sewer districts. Staff also made 613 site visits to meet with homeowners, contractors, engineers, DEP, and to observe construction. The expanded septic program, we helped 13 businesses, not-for-profits, and government entities replace their failing or likely to fail septic system for a total of 24 septics. This brings the total number of septics that we have replaced to 102. And these are just the businesses and not-for-profits that we helped this year. We did not have any government entities this year. For homeowners whose septics are older than 10 years old, we offer, and who have maintained their septic, we offer a second-time repair program. We assisted with 38 second-time repairs this year for a total of 95 repairs to date. While that seems like a high number, we mainly observe pump repairs or minor repairs that are needed. They're usually not full system repairs that have to be done. We were able to lower our replacement time again this year, bringing the average days from sign up to final completion down to 470 days. And since we started tracking this number in 2019, we've reduced the average time by 349 days. So we've gotten really efficient at replacing each septic. This chart shows the replacements by town. Middletown was the highest this year at 40 replacements. And Olive and Shandaken were the next closest at 28 and 29 replacements each. So replacing a septic system just doesn't benefit water quality. By providing these grants to 281 homeowners, they are able to employ 91 contractors and 27 engineers. These engineers and contractors are then able to put the money back into the community by hiring local workers, purchasing and maintaining equipment, and buying supplies and materials from local businesses. And also by replacing septic systems, we are improving a homeowner's and business owner's property value. As I said, we worked with 27 engineers this year. That is 3 above last year's number. 2 engineers account for roughly half of the engineering work in the program. 4 engineers account for 70% of design work, and 8 engineers account for 90% of the work done. So what we really want to point out is we need a lot more engineers. Hopefully by getting more engineers, that will help us replace more septic systems, but we're having a little trouble getting some of these engineers. So we're still working on it, but if anybody has any suggestions, I'd be happy to listen to you. And then the top engineer invoiced for over $300,000. We had 91 contractors participate in the program. 6 of those contractors invoiced for over $500,000. And 7 of those contractors installed over 10 systems, with the most being 18 installations. And the top contractor invoiced for over $800,000. It's funny, the top contractor actually didn't do the most installations. So, and then for those of you who don't know, there are 4 septic maintenance districts inside the watershed. Towns contract with the CWC to do pump outs, inspections, and perform maintenance on a certain number of septics each year within these districts. CWC then coordinates with a septic hauler of the town's choosing and the property owners to schedule and perform the inspection. CWC will then provide the town with an inspection report and suggest any repairs or replacements that may be needed, and provide the town with a pump out schedule for the next time each house needs to be pumped out. Some homes require their septic to be pumped out every 2 years, while we may recommend other houses to be pumped out every 8 years. It really just depends on the use. This year, we did 9 inspections in each district of Delancey, Denning, and Neversink, and we did 8 inspections in Shandaken. We hosted 3 training seminars for contractors and engineers. There was a total of 165 people that attended these trainings. These trainings introduce contractors and engineers to the latest and greatest in enhanced treatment septic systems, and provide design, installation, and maintenance certification. You look up here, the class instructors often bring tanks or products for the contractors and engineers to look at. Gives them a first-hand account and feel for how the products work. And then sometimes we'll even go out in the field and do on-site trainings to see how these systems work. And one class was also held for staff members on drip dispersal leach fields. And probably most importantly, protecting water quality. So if you take the 7,060 septics that have been replaced by the CWC and multiply it by the average of 330 gallons per day, we are treating roughly 2.3 million gallons of septage every day. And then if you take it one step further, that's almost 854 million gallons of properly treated septic each year. And then if you include all the connections through the CWMP program, we are treating over 1 billion gallons of septic each year. So that's pretty incredible. We're not just keeping New York City's drinking water clean, but we're also keeping the water clean for the locals as well. And that's it. Anybody have any questions? Yep. Yeah, we put a lot of new rules in place that it used to be a homeowner could just sign into the program and they could just sit on the project. So now from the date a homeowner signs in, they only have 2 years to replace the septic. So by doing that, it sped up a lot of the contractors and engineers so that way homeowners didn't get removed from the program. Yeah, we cut it by almost a full year, so yeah, it's very good. Yeah. Yep. Any other questions? All right. With that, then I will turn it over to Eric with the septic maintenance program.
Hi, I'm Eric Lane, and I'm in charge of the septic maintenance program here at the CWC. As most of you know, we reimburse for 50% of eligible maintenance-related costs for homeowners. This cost also includes riser installation, which helps ease future maintenance for homeowners, and also can be a reminder to people when they go out and see a riser in the yard that they have a septic system and need to maintain it. By encouraging these homeowners to maintain their systems, it improves treatment and reduces likelihood of the systems to fail in the future. This year, we processed 714 applications and reimbursed for over $180,000 worth of maintenance-related cost, which is a pretty significant number to consider, as the homeowners are responsible for half that cost as well, so plus tax. And each year, we have more and more people that are getting involved in the program and maintaining their systems. As you can see, when it started, we were only around 60, and now we're up at 714. About a year ago, we started the septic receiving feasibility studies, and in this program, the municipally owned wastewater treatment plants can apply to the CWC to conduct a feasibility study on whether their plant is capable of receiving septage. This reduces the distance that pumpers have to travel in order to offload septage, and it also reduces the load on city-owned plants, and it also creates an opportunity for the towns to generate revenue from the septage that they receive. Going forward with the ongoing septic receiving feasibility studies. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but Catslill has applied and they've began completing a pilot study. Wyndham has completed their feasibility study and reported their findings to us and DEP. Their plant, they believe, has the capability of receiving up to 39,000 gallons per day, which is a significant number, with the cost upgrades estimated at $2.4 million. Going forward with the septic receiving, we see Wyndham has submitted an application for their design cost. So we'll hopefully be taking that to committee in the next few months here after we get our program rules updated. And we're also working to secure funding for construction of the septic receiving stations for these facilities, as well as if we get any more applications in the future. For the septic maintenance, we continue to try to outreach to homeowners and property owners to educate them on how to maintain their systems. And as you see in Mitch's presentation, a lot of these systems are getting more advanced, and there's a lot more specific maintenance for each one. So we're trying to educate these homeowners on exactly what they need to do in order to properly maintain their systems. We're also working to ease the application process. Currently, everything's been coming through mail. I created an email. It's pumpout@cwconline.org, where people can now submit electronically, just to try to speed up and ease the process for these homeowners. And that's a brief overview of the septic maintenance program. Does anybody have any questions? All right, nobody has any questions. I'll turn it over to Barbara and Lynn with the Economic Development Program. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Barbara Polisi. I'm the Economic Development Director.
Hi, I'm Lynn Kavanaugh. I'm a Senior Program Specialist for Economic Development.
The Casco Fund for the Future is a self-sustaining fund established in 1997 from a $59.7 million appropriation. $115.5 million has been invested in 355 business loans. $15 million has been invested in 95 grants and studies, and currently we are servicing 91 active loans. County allocations have been determined by land mass and population within the watershed, as indicated to the left. Staff provides a breakdown of current allocations to the Economic Development Committee throughout the year, so we are constantly monitoring this to be sure we are staying within these percentages. On the right, you could see the percentages since inception. So you can see we're pretty much stayed within it in the allocations. This is the report I provide to the committee. They are most interested in the total remaining funds, the bottom line, which shows them that there is funding available for each county. So that bottom line right there. Show that. This chart shows the industries that the loan fund has supported since inception. Accommodations tops the list at 16%, with manufacturing coming in second at 12%, followed by restaurants and catering, and then service industries at 11%. In 2024, 12 loans were approved, totaling $5.9 million. We had 4 repeat borrowers, 3 repeat business or properties with new owners, 4 new businesses, and 1 municipality. Creative Environments opened in 2000, and CWC has worked with them since 2002. They received their 4th loan from CWC. Previous projects shown on the right include a beautiful event venue that replaced a tent structure, which allowed them to hold events year-round. They also built 10 luxury cottages, 5 rustic cabins, and a 6-unit bathhouse. This year's funding is being used to replace their existing pool with the rendering on the left. Stony Cove Ventures received its 3rd loan. It is a resort with seasonal cabins set in a densely wooded 21-acre campus of trails, an existing pond, gardens, and other outdoor amenities. They built with and will operate using hyper-sustainable materials and practices. Additional funding was needed to complete the project so they can open this summer. The The Sun Creek Center, a healing arts medical center, was built in 2009 with a construction loan from Ulster Savings Bank, at which time CWC partnered with Ulster Savings to provide permanent financing to North Star Sun Creek LLC. In 2004, CWC consolidated and refinanced those loans and provided funding to make minor improvements to the facility. Walton Big M is a full-service grocery market which opened in 1997. They also have a gas station on the premises. CWC has worked with them since 2006, providing them with their sixth loan to assist in equipment maintenance and replacement and store improvements.
CWC first closed on the loan with the in-between in 2003. When the former owners decided it was time for them to retire, the new proprietors came to CWC for assistance. They purchased 42377 State Highway 28. They plan to extend the current hours of operation to include breakfast and lunch and be open 7 days a week. They envision the newly owned in-between will be a community hub and social gathering spot for visitors and community members alike. Again, CWC first closed on Be Sure to Go in 2008. When the former owners decided it was time for retirement, they recommended CWC to assist the new owners. 44 Green purchased 948 State Route 28, known as Be Sure to Go. The new proprietors of Be Sure to Go will continue to offer daily specials, ready-made takeaway, and continue to cater events. They are planning to extend their hours of operation to include breakfast at their newly installed cafe and breakfast counter, where you can pick up a wider variety of specialty coffees, espresso, and teas. The Catskill Forest Association purchased 42710 State Route 28 as they outgrew their former location. The CFA was established in November 1982 for the purpose of promoting knowledge and understanding of forest ecology and economics, to promote long-term forest management, to educate the public, and enhance the economy of the Catskill region. Their program and services include forest consultations, apple tree grafting, apple tree pruning, Alaskan sawmill, forest bird program, forest farming, invasive species management, legacy tree program, portable sawmill program, property mapping, tree care, and wildlife habitat management.
(1084) Main Street Associates LLC secured funding to renovate their building, which will have 4 commercial spaces, 2 on the main floor and 2 on the second floor. Potential tenants for the building have been secured. Andy Studios LLC has purchased a mixed-use building on Main Street to house their business Estro, which specializes in unique vintage furniture, lighting, artwork, and everyday homeware products. They also plan to open a small grocery space to the right. They will lease out a space to the left. There is a workshop in the rear of the building and a longtime tenant on the second floor. Top Notch Tree Service, established in 1981. Their services include tree removal, tree trimming and pruning, stump grinding, and land clearing. They purchased a property to house their equipment.
LE Developers purchased 100 Mill Street in Liberty in order to operate their appliance store DNS appliances. Purchasing this 2-story building will allow them to open the second location and broaden their products delivery area, as well as a showroom for the products they currently carry and the higher end products they want to carry. They are seeking to release the second floor to a business which will complement their own.
The Catskill Watershed Corporation provided a bond to the Village of Walton to assist with the funding needed for the replacement of 2 clarifiers at their wastewater treatment plant.
The CFF has supported the reservoir boating program since its inception in 2009, which began as a pilot program on the Cannonsville Reservoir. The program expanded beyond the pilot in 2012 to also include the Neversink, Papacton, Schoharie reservoirs. Steam cleaning and boat rental vendors benefit from the program as well as the locals and visitors that take advantage of the opportunity. In 2024, CWC distributed 51 reservoir boating patches to boaters. The 2024 boat rental vendor rented a total of 385 boats to 592 boaters. The New York City DEP reported that 1,178 boat tags were issued in 2024.
Executive Director Sam Candell has worked with CWC to provide business assistance to many of our business owners since 2001. In 2004, the SBDC provided 1,000+ hours of counseling to 77 Watershed clients. As a result, a total of $5.6 million was invested in the region, and 26 jobs were created or retained. I would like to personally thank two people that have been a crucial partner in the success of the Catskill Fund for the Future: Sam Candell and Robert McLaughlin of Whiteman, Osterman, and Hannah. Thank you. Any questions?
Is there any chance that the boating permits are also being extended to the Shore Reservoir?
That's a DP question,
Yeah.
and no. Any other questions? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Samantha Costa. I'm our Communication and Public Education Manager. And just to talk about the public education program for now. The public education program is intended to educate students and audiences and the public audience of the West of Hudson Watershed, as well as the 5 boroughs of New York City. We have one grant funding round a year, which is typically budgeted at $200,000. There are two types of grants that are eligible each year, and that's the student teacher grants or the public audience grants. The max amount for the student teacher is $10,000, while the public audience can apply for a max of $5,000. In order to have a strong application for the members of the Public Education Advisory Group to consider your application, you need to explain how you're going to integrate the 3 themes of fresh water, the West of Hudson Watershed, and the New York City water supply system into your application. In 2024, which was our 27th round of public education grants, we awarded 37 grants totaling over $197,000 to schools and organizations in the West of Hudson Watershed, as well as New York City. Some of the projects included raising trout in the classroom, going on environmental field trips to Frost Valley YMCA and the Ashokan Center, doing water testing, or performances from Arm in the Sea Theater, as well as many more. These 37 applications intended to reach more than 21,000 students and teachers and the public. A total of over $4 million has been awarded since 1997 to teach the younger generations about the importance of keeping their water clean and knowing the history of how they get clean drinking water. As mentioned a little bit before, some of the types of projects listed are ones that we have listed as special options in our programs. These are pre-done programs that the teachers can apply for. They just have to come up with the curriculum and coordinate with the facilitators of these organizations. So with the public education, we also do a lot of outreach. Whether it's through public events or a group asking us to do a presentation about what we do and the history of the Catskill Watershed Corporation and how it was formed. These are some of the events that we had gone to this past year. We try to do more events each year and make ourselves more visible just to teach the public of what we actually do at the Catskill Watershed Corporation, as well as all of our programs that we have to offer. And these are some of the events that we have been asked to attend, to do a presentation, or even just set up a table to have information available to the public coming up to us. Most of these were events that we were asked to do some kind of presentation at. As well as all of our outreach, we also do a stream cleanup in the springtime. We promote this program each spring. It's intended to promote good stewardship by getting groups of people together to clean up our local stream banks and to prevent trash from getting into the reservoir. The way that the program works is someone will usually contact us and tell us when their cleanup is planned and how many volunteers they will have. We will then prepare garbage bags, gloves, and some kind of token of appreciation for the group. Last year, we had a total of 6 groups of people with 194 volunteers, and we're hoping to get more this year as they're already planning their cleanup events. Does anybody have any questions? All right, thank you very much. I'm going to pass it off to Jason now.
Thank you all, staff. That was great. That was a lot of information to go through. I just want to hit a couple more points. I'll be quick, but it's nearly impossible to articulate all of the things that we do throughout the entire course of the year in one hour presentation. I think the staff did a great job detailing some of the highlights of each of their programs. Overall, we provided over $24 million into the watershed this year, mostly in the form of grants. It's a lot of money for these rural communities. And I think it's important to highlight the disbursement throughout the entirety of the watershed. We hit every corner of the watershed with our programs. This is specifically for the septic program. 281 systems, is a significant amount, but when you see it on a map, I think it kind of adds a little bit of emphasis to what we're doing. And that's expanded even more when you add in the 700 maintenance pump outs that we did throughout the watershed. And then if you take the totality of our programs, over 1,000 reimbursements, grants, and loans throughout the watershed in a one-year period. I'm very impressed. Doing this every day, it's still very impressive to me that we're able to get this done with the staff that we have. It makes a major difference for our communities. And it's not just that we're getting them out quickly, we're extremely efficient in our program management. Taking our flood hazard and stormwater contracts, for example, of the $2.5 million that we expended this year, over 2.1 million of that is directly in the form of grants, with only a 16% overhead. Taking the totality of those contracts, of the $34 million that we've expended out of those contracts, over 30 million of that is direct grants to property owners in the watershed. And that only improves with our septic program and septic maintenance program. 11.8 million out of the 12.8 million directly grants to property owners for 92% grant rate out of that contract. And contract to date of this nearly 64 million that we spent, 91% of that has gone directly to grants to property owners. And to take it a step further, 96% of our grant funds for our community wastewater management program and Shokan wastewater program go directly in the form of grants. And of the 46 million we've spent altogether, 98% is in the form of grants. Very proud of our efficiency, and I appreciate the question, Larry, to Mitch about decreasing the times. We work really hard on these things on all of our programs to try to make them as efficient as possible. So what's next? We got some big undertakings coming up in the future. The Shokan wastewater project has come up a couple times today. Over 500 properties being connected. We are getting very close to bid time on that. It'll be a multi-year project, biggest wastewater treatment plant project in the watershed to date. Eric brought up the septic acceptance facilities that we are working on. As a part of our renewed public education contract, we have a new sub-program for a workforce development program. We're really looking forward to working with all of you on ways that we can increase our workforce development capacity as people are aging out and the out-migration that we're seeing from our locals. And we've started our community vitality study. We've talked about that for some time, but that project has started. Going into the future, we have been negotiating contracts nonstop, it feels like, for a year and a half. I see John smirking back there, he knows. 11 contracting actions starting back in July of 2023. We're ensuring that we have future programs and funding available going into the future. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Again, I want to really give a heartfelt thank you to the staff. They show up here every day in the office, in person, and they work hard. They work with me on creating efficiencies. They are great out in the field. We get great comments back from people in the field about how our staff work with them, and we appreciate everything that they do. Thank you to the board for being very supportive for me and the staff. You guys are engaging and you're very helpful in making sure we can get these programs out to everybody. Thank you to all the other partners, private and public, that we work with every day. Without you guys, we wouldn't be as successful as we are. Thank you, DEP, for your support and partnership. We appreciate everything you do. The relationship right now is strong, and I think it's getting stronger. Thank you to the commissioner, Paul, Shiloh, Dave, John Schwartz, everybody at DEP, the whole staff. We really appreciate everything you do. We've congratulated Shiloh on her recent appointment. We're very happy to have you on board. It's been great working with you so far, and we're looking forward to many more annual meetings in the future. And of course, Dave, thank you for everything. We really appreciate all your hard work that you've put in here as well. You've been here as long as I've worked here. You've been a great partner. Thank you, and I wish you the best in your new position. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I know this is at least one other person's last annual meeting. I don't know where she went, but Lisa's leaving us as well. We appreciate everything, Lisa. We wish you the best in the future as well. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, we continue on with the meeting.